Kia ora, good afternoon, namaste. First of all, I would like to thank EI SmartKeep 2021 Conference Steering Committee for giving me an opportunity to present our research Raspberry Pi-based intelligent cyber defense systems for SMEs and exploratory study. This research project is a joint collaboration between Manukau Institute of Technology and Whitecliffe. Me, Narayan, Nepal, is a presenter for this research paper, and I belong from Whitecliffe, whereas Dr. Sreenivas, Tirumala, and Dr. Sayan are from Manukau Institute of Technology. The results which we have presented here is just a part of our long-term project, which we have envisioned to continue after completing this preliminary part of research. These results indeed have motivated us to proceed our long-term objectives, which we have put as objectives to achieve our desired outcomes for these projects. Before proceeding into details, I would like to highlight a little bit of background towards our research project. As you can see, most of the business are moving towards online/internet platform, and even the rise of the COVID-19 have forced most of the business to think about moving their on-premises networks towards the online platform or towards the cloud platform. So what is happening is we are actually making our business as a potential targets for ransomware and other cyber attacks. Ongoing ransomware attacks have forced business to think about security for attackers. Ongoing ransomware attacks have forced business to think about security of their resources. Recently, small to medium enterprises, SMEs, have become easy targets for attackers since they don't have a cyber defense mechanism in place other than the simple firewall systems, which are quite vulnerable. Cyber defense systems are costly and often not within the budget of SMEs, which inspired us to think about low cost yet highly efficient cyber defense solution. So this research explores the prospects of implementing a Raspberry Pi based intelligent cyber defense ICDS for SME networks and smart homes to filter malicious contents from incoming traffic. Primarily, the work presented in this paper tries to evaluate the hardware capability of network interfaces, both internal and attached, of the Raspberry Pi for handling high volumes of incoming traffic. And what we have done towards the project is we have measured the network performance of the Raspberry Pi using the speed test software. So there has been intrusion detection system already in place, and we call them as a traditional intrusion detection system. However, they have different kinds of demerits. Like traditional intrusion detection system requires special high configuration hardware. They are very expensive to install and maintain. They require technical expertise, like people with experience. Also, if it comes into SMEs, small to medium enterprises, they are not affordable because basically they will have a different with only few computers, and it's highly unlikely that they will be investing such a big amount of money for intrusion detection systems only to manage the few computers. So we dissect further on the existing structure, and we realize that SMEs relies on antivirus or simple firewalls, and they are most of them are ISP subscriber based, and they are cloud based online systems. It means what it comes to the cyber attackers are they are highly prone towards the cyber attacks, and they frequently requires updates and involve subscriptions in a daily installations. As they are online slash cloud based, they are costly and they are suitable for online attacks, and they requires always on high speed internet. They have to rely on either antivirus slash spam filters. I would like to note here is that security as a service is still at the development level, and it may not be suitable for SMEs due to subscription charges. Now we realize what are the key requirements that has to be in IDS. So we highlighted few points. So they should be of low cost. They should not be bandwidth savvy. I mean, they should work equally even in low bandwidth. Other main important factor is the configurations, equipment slash hardware. They should be low. Shouldn't involve huge hardware and large amount of equipment. They should be easy to install and maintain. They are and they should be intelligent systems with automations. They support automation, and they should support against cyber attacks as well as traditional features like antivirus slash firewall. So this is the prototype of our project. As you can see in the diagram, the incoming traffic is coming and it's going to the Raspberry Pi, where we will utilize our online validation algorithm scheme that will segregate the affected packets, and the remaining packets will go towards the SMEs network. As you can see, ICDS mostly deals with identifying filtering malicious contents from external network traffic that are trying to penetrate inside the network. And what we have considered at this stage is insider attackers at this stage of we haven't considered that. The filtering approach consists of getting the traffics and filtering inside the pie with the help of the machine learning based algorithm, and then forwarding the outgoing traffic towards the SMEs network. We looked at a couple of Raspberry Pi based IDS systems in the literature. However, we found that there is a lack of systematic literature review on implementing low-cost IDS solutions based on SMEs. SMEs. Few researchers have proposed installing open source IDS on Raspberry Pi so that it can replace a regular computer and can operate as a complete IDS of its own. For example, there have been netcard proposed for traffic monitoring to find the man in the middle attacks, those kind of things. However, they lack the technical details of the hardware and software limitations of the Raspberry Pi when implementing it as an IDS. Also, they considered limited traffic with known system ICDS in the form of filtering device to protect the SMEs from malicious traffic. So what we have realized is a comparative study of the performance of the inbuilt network interface, namely Ethernet, Wi-Fi on the Raspberry Pi, as well as externally connected USB adapter is important so that we can use them as the best combinations. That is what we have done in our project. So as to summarize, what should be the features? It should be low-cost devices. That is for that purpose we have used Raspberry Pi in this project. It should be easy to install. It should be low cost, and it should consume low power. It can be equipped with additional hardware if required. And as you can see in the previous slide, we mentioned the online validation skill. That is what we are expecting to utilize this AI-based filtering approach by creating synthetic repository to train with complex malware imprints and then use advanced AI algorithms for feature extraction, live filtering through separating malware-based and unique features, and eliminating any possible false positives through filtering malware variants using AI. So, however, the implementation of IDS with Raspberry Pi doesn't come without any challenge. There are several challenges when you are thinking to utilize Raspberry Pi ICDS for MIM filtering malicious traffic. As you can see, they have to deal with high volumes of traffic, so they should be able to handle high volumes of traffic. Then another possible problem is traffic processing capabilities. Heat and power storage is equally the another problem. Is the hardware of the Raspberry Pi capable enough to run continuously and uninterrupted for even a week or a month? Then there is a problem of storage and real-time updates of repository. There should be efficient mechanism to store and update the repository. Either it is a rule-based or signature-based or any other approach. Then hardware capability for storage and execution algorithm. However, the key challenge we figure out is the input-output interface. Since we are saying that we will be creating a filter, we will be creating a traffic filtering approach mechanism that is coming from the incoming port and going out the outgoing port. So we discovered the key challenges in creating input-output interface, and for that we utilize this system model for our practical purpose. So what we can see is here is there is the incoming traffic coming from the internet and it's going to the Raspberry Pi. As you all know, the Raspberry Pi consists of only one inbuilt Ethernet port. So for that purpose, because of this, we are using the external USB Ethernet for outgoing traffic. So the two network interface, for example, network adapters or network interface called Raspberry Pi 4. Connections can be in any form, like onboard Ethernet interface, onboard Wi-Fi interface. So we come out with possible 4 combinations of these settings as shown in the slide. Option 1 is network traffic entering the Raspberry Pi device through the onboard Ethernet interface and flowing out through the onboard Wi-Fi interface. Second option is network traffic entering to the Raspberry Pi device through onboard Ethernet interface and flowing out through the USB Ethernet interface. Third option is network traffic entering on the onboard Wi-Fi interface and then flowing throughout the Wi-Fi interface. Similarly, the fourth option we consider the device onboard Wi-Fi interface and flowing through the USB Ethernet interface. Then we realized there are, however, few issues with the selections of the different interface on the Raspberry Pi board for incoming and outgoing network traffic unless proper channel bonding is used. So one such issue, for example, when choosing option 1, onboard Ethernet interface for internal traffic and Wi-Fi interface, the configuration will face an issue with the assigned IP address for the two interfaces. So generally, individual IP address will be assigned to the Ethernet interface and Wi-Fi interface respectively for incoming packets entering the Raspberry Pi board to identify the traffic packets leaving the Raspberry Pi board to enter the SME network. This implies that traffic will not enter the gateway on the SME network. So thus from these discussions, we concluded that it is feasible to use Raspberry Pi device to develop an ICDS, but proper channel bonding needs to be used for tracking the network traffic entering and exiting the different interfaces in the board. That is what we have done in our previous slide. This, as you can see, this channel bonding, the bridge is that channel bonding. Now, as I said, we did some experiments. We measured the latency. As you can see in the figure, the latency of the built-in Wi-Fi interface on the Pi device is considerably high in comparison to the latencies of the built-in Ethernet and USB adapter interface. So apart from the fact that Ethernet connections usually offers better network speed and significantly lower in latency compared to Wi-Fi connections, the other reasons can be that the built-in Wi-Fi and the Pi device has a single antenna and not a MIMO, so lower speed and more latency anyway. On the other hand, Ethernet interface also offers lower latency than the USB adapter interface. We measure the download throughput traffic as well. As you can see, the throughput of the built-in Ethernet interface on the Pi device is significantly higher than the throughput of the Wi-Fi and USB adapter interface. Again, this can be related to the fact that Ethernet connections generally offer better network speed and thus better download throughput comparison to Wi-Fi and USB connections. Performance of the inbuilt Wi-Fi and USB interface look somewhat similar. Next, we compare the upload traffic. As you can see, the upload traffic compares the throughput of the upload traffic for three network interfaces. The upload throughput performance of the built-in Ethernet interface has somehow outperformed the other two interfaces. The USB adapter on the Pi device, unlike the Ethernet, shares a common bus and hence its bandwidth is also distributed among other parts, which is why it experiences some internet delays and has a low throughput. So as I was saying earlier that we have a long-term vision towards this project. This is what we will be doing at the end of our final project. So these three things we have proposed as our future goal. So what we will be doing with incoming traffic on the Pi device will be sent through the cloud-based validation systems where the signatures of the packet will be thoroughly checked to identify the malicious contents, malwares. Another will be proposing a lightweight AI-based pattern recognition and deep learning algorithm to inspect the packets and filter out malicious contents before they can enter the SME networks. Third, we will be doing a functional prototype of this low-cost ICDS, then which will use the deep learning based signature verification model for filtering malicious contents from incoming network traffic. Finally, I would like to thank Manukau Institute of Technology for providing us the fund regarding purchase of the hardware needed for this project. And I would like to equally thank Whitecliffe Institute that has provided us the registration fund to attend this conference. Thank you for listening to my presentations. I hope you have enjoyed the presentations. If you have any questions, please feel free to email any of us. Thank you so much. Kia ora.